So, welcome to 36, 37 chapters of Exodus. We're getting really close to finishing this book. And I'm telling you, I was just listening to somebody today. They were on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, the Red Sea, and they were talking about the Bible times and this, that, and the other. And he had the audacity to say that Genesis and Exodus are boring books. And I was like, dude, you must have never read Genesis and Exodus, because we're almost done with, we got 36 and 37 this week, and 38 and 39 next week, and then 40, we're done. So 3 weeks, and we're finished with Exodus. And I have been more enthralled with Exodus than I ever imagined that I was ever going to be.
So much goes on.
There's so much behind the scenes. There's so much symbolism. There's so much deep meat, that's in there. And so we're going to talk about some of that today, and I'm going to have more drawings for you as well, because I want us to make sure we wrap our minds around kind of what I feel like is the main thing that I'm pulling out of this. It's going to feel like review, but just go with me. God had Moses write this in here again for a reason. So I'm using the modern English version like I normally do. You can choose whatever version floats your boat. Hopefully you read the Bible enough that you have a favorite version of the Bible. I'm going to start in chapter 36 of Exodus, and we're going to jump through together. So Bezalel and Aholiab, who we talked about last week as God specifically, bam, bam, y'all are the skilled artisans. And in my estimation, I'm saying that perhaps they were actually working for Pharaoh, doing amazing artwork on the tombs and on the sarcophagus and all that kind of stuff. And they were skilled artists, but they were enslaved, right? So perhaps they were doing it, but they were using their talents to glorify Pharaoh, not glorify God. And God is now saying, nope, time's come. Boom, you. Boom, you. You're going to lead this thing, okay? So that's what was kind of ending last week. So here we have chapter 36. So Bezalel and Aholiab and every skilled person in whom the Lord has put skill and understanding to know how to do all their manner of work for the service of the sanctuary are to do the work according to all that the Lord has commanded. What did the Lord command? Well, we've been talking about it for 16 chapters now, okay? Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab and every skilled person in whom the Lord had put wisdom, everyone whose heart stirred him to come to the work to do it. And they received from Moses all the offerings which the children of Israel had brought to do the work of the service of the sanctuary. And they continued to bring to him free will offerings every morning. Now remember, Moses went up on the mountain. Remember, this is all the way back in like chapter 24, I think. 25, something like that. And he was basically saying, you're going to make a tabernacle for me. This is a place for me to be worshipped. This is where I'm going to dwell on earth, and you can worship me there. Because right now, here we are, post-Pentecost. And post-Pentecost, we have the Holy Spirit in us. So we're not worshiping ourselves, but we are able to worship in truth, in spirit, in truth, because the Holy Spirit is within us. But what we see is he says, I'm going to put a place on the earth, and I want you guys to build it, and I want you to do it. And you're going to do this, and you're going to have fine linen, right, and gold thread, and you're going to have scarlet, and you're going to have blue, the ink. Remember we talked about from from the snails, basically, and you're going to break them open, and they're going to have a little sack in there, and that's that much of that blue or purple ink is going to be in there. You're going to have to kill thousands of those snails, but they are only found in Israel. Right? So there's no accidents here. God's planning all this. So he said, remember, we're going to need the ram skins and the goat's hairs and the gold and the acacia wood and all these things. And we're not 100% sure what the translation is, but my translation says porpoise skins, dolphin skins. Remember, we talked about that. Some of them translate to badger skins. I think what it really means is
sounds cooler.
Porpoise sounds cooler. I don't even know how many badgers there are in the Sinai wilderness. Porpoise, they were in Cairo and Alexandria and Goshen, which is next to the Mediterranean. It makes more sense for me for it to be a porpoise than a badger. But
badgers are in the desert, though.
they are in the desert, but I don't know if there's badgers in that part of the desert over there.
Are they honey badgers?
I guess anything's possible. I don't know. The Bible doesn't really. It would be like translating cool, Well, cool can mean cool temperature. Cool can mean It's awesome. Cool can mean like, shut up, I'm done talking to you. Like, cool can be translated a whole bunch of different things. And so this word for skin, whatever the skin is, it basically means like a wild animal. They would have known that, what that was. Like, if I say a Sasquatch, I've never seen a Sasquatch in person, but if I say the word Sasquatch, you all put the image of the Jack Slings guy, right, in the commercial with the beef jerky thing or whatever. Harry and the Hendersons, right? I mean, we just watched Rookie of the Year with my kids. No. Rookie of the Year is the kid who falls and hurts his arm, and he throws like 120 mile an hour. It's super cheesy, but it is hilarious. The kids loved it. It was awesome. Exactly. Exactly. That's the one. It's hilarious. So anyway, he said, bring the offering. Now remember, they walked for miles and miles and miles out of Egypt through the desert all the way to Midian. And they carried with them whatever they had on their back. There might have been some carts. I don't know if they had like backpacking gear like I have. I don't know how they carried all this stuff, but they carried it all the way over there, miles and miles and miles away. Weeks and weeks in the desert, they carried all the stuff with them. And God says to Moses, we need A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, W, X, Y, Z. This is what we need to make the tabernacle happen. Now you tell the people that. And he tells them, and sure enough, they're like, I think I do have a porpoise skin squirreled away back in my pack over there. Let me go get that for you. Like, people are pulling stuff out, and they're bringing the offerings. Yeah. They're like, this shouldn't even happen. This shouldn't even be the case because the people are bringing stuff out in the middle of the desert. Okay, so they're making God's sanctuary on the earth. So that's what we see here. And now we're in verse 4. And all the skilled men who were doing all the work of the sanctuary came from the work they were doing. And they said to Moses, check it out. The people are bringing much more than is needed for service of which the Lord commanded us to do. What does your translation say? What are you reading? You reading a different translation than me?
The people are bringing more than enough for doing the work the Lord commanded to be done.
So what are they saying? We got too much gold. We have too much acacia wood. We have too many porpoise skins. We have too much goat hair. We have too much fine linen. We have too much blue ink. We have too much purple ink. We have too much gold thread. We have too much. They're bringing too much. Tell them to stop. When have you ever heard a pastor go to the front and say, you know what, people, stop the ties. We're good to go. You guys, what a blessing. Thank you. We've never heard that. Never have we heard that before in our entire lives. It doesn't happen because we're not truly giving from the depth of our heart as God moves us. We're giving from let's see, I could drop a 50, I could drop a 20. Then I can still buy lunch after church. Like, okay, here's a 20,
I try to stay at home.
We all do that. I'm guilty of it. And what I'm saying is that wasn't the problem for these people. Now, let's go back and review for just a second here, okay? We're gonna make a little chart over here, okay? Let me. Where's my eraser? We're gonna make a little chart here real quick because I want us to gather, and we're gonna make. It's not a chart. It's gonna be more like a brainstorming session here. But listen, we have coming out of slave, right? They're coming out of being slaves, and coming out of being slaves, we have what? The Red Sea, right? The whole thing with the sea parting and the army being washed over. We got all that, right? Then we had the water well, that the water was bad, but he said throw that stick in there and makes it sweet so they could drink it. And then we had the rock, right, where he hit the rock and the water came out of there. And we have the Amalekites. And that's where, as long as his hands were up, they were winning the battle. But when his shoulders started hurting and his hands started coming down, they started losing the battle. So he had one person on either side holding his hands up for him, right? So we have the battle of the Amalekites. We have Sinai itself on fire with lightning and smoke and cloud. Earthquake happening right there on Sinai as God's making them his people. What else? What else have we witnessed during this time? Oh, we do have some other things we've witnessed, like, I don't know, the people making a golden calf, and Moses having to kill 3,000 instigators of that golden calf, and Moses breaking the first stones that came down from God. And Moses is actually in trouble for this rock, so I'm going to put a circle around it, because the first time he said, speak to the rock and let water come out. And they were like, yeah, speak to the rock. He's like, I'm telling you right now, there's your water. And God is actually upset with him because he struck the rock out of anger instead of just being obedient and speaking to the rock. So that's actually gets a red circle around it.
And that's why he wasn't able to go into the promised land too, right?
That's right.
What about the staff with the snake?
Yeah. Those are all going to be over here. That's going to be the plagues that they were all witness to the plagues that all that stuff that happened, and the serpent and the rod and all those things. So
And I was talking about he had this when they were getting bit by the vipers.
Oh yeah.
And he had the snake around the.
Well, that's actually in Numbers. That's not in Exodus, but yeah. But that is that's what we'll call the bronze serpent.
Yeah, that was with Moses.
Yeah, but it wasn't in this text. In Numbers, he retells some of this with additional information.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, it is in the Bible. It's like I'm telling you this story, and then I'm going to tell you those 5 stories again. Actually, I forgot to tell you about this story.
The 10 Commandments are in Exodus, but they're also in Deuteronomy.
Right. Duet, like duet is 2 people. Deuteronomy is the second telling.
Yeah, the second law.
Yeah. So, anyway, we got a bunch of things that have happened, right? Good things, amazing things, only God can do things, and some kind of messed up, bad things that have happened here. What we're seeing now is the people have kind of annealed. You know what that word means? Anneal? What does it mean? That's right. When you have metal that you first put it in there and you make the shape and everything, if I handed it to you and you dropped it on the concrete, it would shatter. It's brittle because every single metal crystal is formed like this. But when you anneal it, you temper it, you put it under heat, and that heat basically fuses all those into a stronger structure so that it has more strength later. So you anneal it, okay? And so the Israelites have been there this whole time, but really, when he comes down and tells them about the tabernacle with the second set of tablets and all that kind of stuff, that's when they said, we are the people. We're the people of God. We get it. We didn't do anything to put ourselves into slavery. We didn't do anything to make the plagues happen. We didn't do anything to get out of slavery. We didn't do anything to make the Red Sea split. We didn't do anything. You see this whole pattern here? We did do this. And Moses did do this because of this. And Moses did this because of the people. He was kind of just frustrated with them, which we talked about early on, like a bunch of whiny babies for the most part. But we see this stuff where they realize, if this is happening, what did we do for any of it? Nothing. We did nothing for any of it. So we are God's people. Not because of what we did, but because of what he is doing. Right? You following with me? And so they are giving that offering out of an abundance, saying, here is what you need for the tabernacle. Here's where we're going to worship this God that we're the people of now. Here's some more gold. Here's some more acacia wood. Here's some more porpoise skins or whatever, right? And these people are coming to Moses and say, you got to tell them to stop. We got way too much stuff, man. I appreciate it. I'm thankful for it, but we got way too much stuff, okay?
They're also carrying it around the desert.
And they're carrying it around the desert. Yeah.
So, like in the city, for example, there's ways to disperse it.
Sure.
You're stuck out there carrying all
Yeah. So in verse 6, Moses issued a command and they circulated a proclamation throughout the camp saying, "Let no man or woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary." Literally telling people, stop giving to the church. Isn't that amazing? I've never heard of that in my entire life.
Yeah.
Never. So the people were restrained from bringing any more, for the material they had was sufficient for all the work and more than enough to do it. So here we are in verse 8. Every skilled man among those who were doing the work made the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twisted linen and blue and purple and scarlet with cherubim that were the work of skillful workmen. So if you'll remember, and I've got, you go to bradflack.com/Exodus, and you'll see some of the pictures that I posted when we first started talking about the tabernacle here. I'm going to take this off so I can erase it easier. That they have pictures, and they've kind of replicated the artistry of that time period and made it, made the fine linen and the purple and the scarlet and the blue and all that kind of stuff. They've kind of replicated that. So you can see that on the website there. But on top of that, keep in mind, this is not modern day, modern technology usage of sewing machines and punches and dies, where you can just make the same exact, because you're just.
They still had the flip phone back then.
Yeah, this is actually a Nokia, like the brick, not even flip phones. So what we have is these people that are making this stuff, and it says not only are they doing it, but they're doing it with skillful work. Look in verse 8. Verse 8 says that they're going to start just adding some cherubim. That wasn't in the original that I remember reading. Maybe I forgot. But it says they're adding cherubim to it. Moses is writing this after they've started doing the work. And he's like, it's so awesome, man. They made the thread, the cloth has, red and blue and scarlet with the white and the gold thread in it. And then on top of that, they've embroidered inside of it so it looks like angels are on the side of this cloth. Like, this is awesome. I see Moses is like excited about the fact of what the workmanship that they're doing. So the length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. A cubit is about 18 inches. It's from the tip of your finger to the your nook of your elbow there. Okay, it's about a cubit. And so they're saying it's going to be 4 cubits or 28 cubits. Now we talked about that. You can go back and see the diagrams up above, and I can't remember what chapter. I think it's like 24, 25, 26, somewhere in there. Well, we'll show you on bradflack.com, and Chris has got a picture, I think, in there somewhere.
The tabernacle?
Yeah. Yeah, let me see that. Here we go. So, as you can see on this diagram, they have this artistry. This is just, again, their interpretation. We don't have an actual picture, despite what you might think. There were no cameras back then. Okay, Chris? So they wove the blue and the scarlet and the purple and the white and the gold thread together to make these panels, but then they also embroidered them so that they had like cherubim, like angels on them. Because what do we know about the throne room of God? We talked about this a few weeks back. What do we know about the throne room of God?
If you enter it, you can die.
Well, yes, but that's why this is not called the throne room. What is this called?
Holy of Holies.
Yes, and what is this specific area right here?
Is that the Ark?
Yes, and right on top of the ark is the
Mercy seat.
mercy seat. The mercy seat. It's not the throne, I'm going to take you out seat. It's the I'm not going to give you what you deserve seat. It's the mercy seat, right? We talked about that when it came up. So, the throne of God, though, we have in Revelation. I'm going to keep this up here for now. Is that all right? The throne room of God, it says that there are 4 beasts, and they have 6 wings and eyes covering the entire bodies. And it's like a head of a lion with the tail of a snake and the feet of a man and elbows of a Bradford or whatever it is. And these crazy looking creatures. So they are flying around the throne room along with the cherubim And they're saying forever, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Who's worthy to receive praise and honor and glory, right? We kind of talked about that a few weeks back, that's the throne room of God. And so if this is God's presence on earth, why wouldn't it make sense to have cherubim represented all around? Right? Does that make sense? That makes total sense. All right. All right. He joined the 5 curtains to one another, and the other 5 curtains he joined to the other. He made loops of blue on the edge of the outermost curtain in the first set. He did likewise the long edge of the outermost curtain. Basically, I'm going to draw this. This is what he's doing. You've got the edge of this curtain. You have the edge of this curtain. And then they're making tabs, basically, like this. You see that? And then he's going to talk about acacia wood. And you're basically going to take the wood and just kind of insert it through here. And
What's that for?
And that's the different panels,
For what? For their building?
the panels to go around the tabernacle. And you can actually see it's cut away a little bit. You can kind of see where the wood would go through there. Here, you pass that around. That's actually good, really good.
They make a model that would be cool to do. We'd have to put it together, but as a group.
Yeah.
It's pretty big, but we would have it for
No, it's like life size. I've watched videos of them doing it.
We'd have to do it as a group.
Yeah.
But it'd be pretty cool to do.
It would be cool.
Life size?
Yeah, it's like life size. And not the tabernacle, the ark. And it's made of like plastic and foam, and you make some wood supports and this, that, and the other.
Oh, I see that one too.
And you paint it.
No, I was actually talking about the temple.
The tabernacle kit. That's like a tabletop version. Yeah. I've seen that too.
But it's detailed.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
You just don't open it up and it's ready.
Right.
You got all these little figurines.
Yeah. No, that'd be a fun project to do too.
Yeah.
All right, so I've digressed. My whole point is I'm going to read through this. I'm not going to belabor this stuff. We talked about that a few weeks back. You can go back and watch the tabernacle when we Exodus, whatever that was. I can't remember the chapter, but you can go back and read that one, or go watch that one, or go back and read it. Okay, he's kind of reiterating what they are doing. All right, and then I'm going to hit on a few things you'll see here in a minute. He made loops of blue on the edge of the outermost curtain. He did likewise on the edge of the outermost curtain in the second set. And he made 50 loops in one curtain and 50 loops in the edge of the curtain. Does that make sense now what these loops are? That I was showing you here? Little loops, like little curtain loops. The loops are opposite one another, and he made 50 gold clasps. So this one, he's saying that they didn't run the pole through there, that they did a gold clasp to connect them.
Like the way a curtain would go on a curtain rod. Just the curtain
Yeah.
goes there,
Yeah, but they used golden clasps. So I don't know exactly what it looks like. If I say the word clasp right now, like that could just about be anything. So I don't know what that means. He made the curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle, and he made 11 curtains in all. The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain was 4 cubits. The 11 curtains were all the same size. And he joined 5 curtains by themselves, and he joined 6 curtains by themselves. And he made loops on the outermost edge of the curtain in the first set, and he made 50 loops on the outer edge of the curtain, which he joined the second set. So again, he's joining these pieces together. Why would you go through the time to make these panels? 11 panels made out of goat's hairs. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just make one gigantic tent? Where are we? Here, in the desert. And what are we doing? Moving around. It's got to be portable. It's got to be portable. You got to be able to break it down, break it in.
Kind of like the tents we bought today, huh?
Except for I think they're even more, it's a larger tent. That basically the tabernacle tent would sit inside of this sanctuary here. Okay, so it's bigger than the tent that I would take camping, but I think it breaks down into smaller individual components. Now they're thicker fabric than my fabric of my tent, but this thing's going to last for years and years and years.
And to me, the biggest thing is you got fire inside.
Yeah.
I mean, you got some sparks going.
Yeah.
That island just catching fire.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know how much ram skins and goat's hairs catch on fire or not, but probably a lot less than the nylon though. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, I'm in 18 now, 36:18. He made 50 bronze clasps to join the tent together so that it would be one unit. So he's made it where it can be taken apart, but he is making it where it fits all together, right? He made a covering for the tent out of ram skins dyed red and covering of porpoise skins above is what mine says. And I think that makes it for waterproofing, but that's just my personal take on it.
Yeah.
Then he made the boards for the tabernacle out of acacia wood, standing upright. The length of each board was 10 cubits. That's 180 inches.
Mine just says a tent, a covering of ram skins dyed red, and over that a covering of the other durable leather. And then you look at it, it's possibly the hides of large aquatic mammals.
There you go. The board was 10 cubits, so 180 inches. So 144 inches is 12 foot. So 180 inches is over 12 foot. So we're like 14 foot tall, right? Each board had 2 tenons equally distant from each other, and he did this for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side. He made 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for its 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for its 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, which was towards the north corner, he made 20 boards and their 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board and 2 sockets under another board. For the back of the tabernacle westward, he made 6 boards. He made 2 boards for the corners of the tabernacle at the back, and they were doubled beneath and joined together at the top in one ring. He's saying a lot of things right here, and it's really hard for us to gather what he's talking about just by reading it. There are people who are way smarter than me and have studied this a lot longer, and they have the pictures and videos that I've already posted on bradforlight.com/Exodus. But I want you to point out, I want us to point out something here, right? So if this is the compass. You following with me? North, south, east, west. This would be the outer wall. That would be the outer wall. And then we would have the inner wall. That's where the actual tent itself goes, right? And so let's go back in here. And it says here, he made the boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side. So which one's the south side? So he made 20 boards for the south side. That it makes it easier for me if I draw it out. Does it make it easier for you? It makes it easier for me. Okay? So he says there's 20 boards across the south side. And he made the boards tabernacle. He made 40 sockets of silver under 22 boards, 2 sockets under one board for its 2 tenons and 2 sockets. For the other side of the tabernacle, which is the north corner, he made 20 boards. So 20 boards for the north. So that for me, okay, I'm tracking with what he's talking about now, right? So then we have here the inner court, and then here we have the Holy of Holies, okay? And this is the outer court. Now remember, in the outer court, we've got the barbecue pit for burning the sacrifice and for cooking, and we've got that bronze basin to wash. Because if you imagine all of the blood and guts and everything else, you got to clean yourself before you could go into the inner courts. They're not going to be okay with that. But this is coming in from the east, right? This is coming in from the east. That's the way they would set it up. So we've got, I'll put sac for sacrifice, and I'll put a CLEA. I'll just go ahead and write it out, even though it's not clean. Cleanse. I was just going to try to abbreviate, and there was no way in my head that made sense. So cleanse, sacrifice, cleanse. And then if you remember what was inside of here, we have a table over here, and it had on it the bread. And you remember what was on this side over here?
The lampstand?
That's right. The menorah, right? The lampstand. And then what was in the Holy of Holies back here?
The ark.
That's right. So that's the ark. Now, we're going to come back to this diagram in just a minute, all right? I am now in 29. They were doubled beneath and joined together at the top in one ring. He did this with both of them in both the corners, and there were 8 boards with their sockets under silver, 16 sockets, 2 under every board. That diagram that I passed around and on the website as well, they've kind of drawn it that kind of helps it make sense of what these sockets are talking about. It's just places where the boards can kind of fit in and sit, right? So it's because I've got to take it apart. So it's not nailed, it's not screwed, it's not glued. It's just sitting in there, and then I've got a piece of wood like that, so it can't pull back through.
It's temporary.
It's all temporary, okay? He made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle for the back of the west. So that's going this direction. So he was talking about these. Remember, they were like 14 foot tall, and now we're talking about the bars that are going this way. All right. He overlaid the boards with gold, and he made their rings of gold to be places for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. He made a veil of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, and he made cherubim, the work of a skillful designer. And he made 4 pillars of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, with their hooks of gold, and he cast 4 sockets of silver for them. And he made a hanging for the tabernacle entrance of blue, purple, scarlet, and fine twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer. And he made its 5 pillars with their hooks, and he overlaid their tops with the bands with gold, but their 5 sockets were of bronze. So these people didn't just magically learn this stuff. They were working, doing this with their hands long before we got to this place. God is using their natural talents, their natural abilities, their natural skills to bring glory to Him. So I don't care if you're a carpenter, or if you're good at sales, or you like to talk, or you can lift heavy weights. Whatever it is that God has you doing, do it to bring glory to Him.
I'd have been building the pyramids.
That's right. We would have had you moving 1 block by yourself.
While you're whipping me.
Well, I'd be whipping you. So let's go to chapter 37 now. Okay, it's just going to continue a little bit more in chapter 37. Harvey. Now Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood. Right, there's the ark over there. The ark of acacia wood, its length was 2.5 cubits. And if a cubit is 18 inches, that's about 40,
Mine tells us
45 inches.
That is about 3 3/4 feet long, and then 2 1/4 feet wide and high, or about 1.1 meters long, and 68 centimeters wide and high. Similarly.
It's like an ice chest. This guy's building a wooden Yeti, okay? He's making a wooden Yeti, okay? So just put that in your mind, a wooden igloo, okay? That gives you an idea, more or less, what we're talking about. We're not talking about something that's this huge. And why? Why are we not building a huge, gigantic thing?
Transport.
We got to move it. That's right. We got to move it.
And if you're covering it with gold, it's going to be pretty heavy.
It's going to be, the lid of it is 100% gold.
It's going to be heavy even that size.
The mercy seat is 100% gold.
That's why it would take 4 guys to carry it, right? Because you put the poles through it.
That's right.
You have 4
That's
guys
right.
carrying it.
That's right.
How many people are using, like, going in and out of this tent?
The people serving, the priest Aaron and his sons, can go into here. Only Aaron can go into there.
How many people were around at this time?
There's about 3 million
Still?
Israelites,
Still.
minus 3,000 that got killed.
Yeah.
Now, the number's probably up because of babies and whatnot.
Because you brought up a good point, because I was just thinking, everyday life, your average everyday person wouldn't be going in the tent, I don't think, right?
We'll be doing what?
They wouldn't be going in the tent. You got 3 million.
No. They would all send their. It was a chain of command.
Like
It
a
was,
representative.
yeah. They would send a representative. Hey, you're in charge of Gary's clan, and you're in charge of Harvey's clan. Yeah. Remember, his father-in-law was the one who told him to break it up. Remember, we talked about that early in the Exodus. His father-in-law said, "Don't try to do this yourself. It's too much. There's too many people. You can't do that by yourself. Break it up and set people in charge to deal with the little issues, and you can deal with God and the big issues." Okay, so they're going to send the representatives like, okay, well, the Flack clan, I would show up and I would say, okay, we're going to sacrifice a goat and a turtle dove and a salamander this week because, Davis, he did whatever, and it was a salamander's worth of sin or whatever. Okay, doesn't matter. But I would sacrifice that.
Or Harvey, an elephant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or 2 or 3.
of the sin. But I'm gonna talk about this just for a second. Remember, sin is really something that we do because we think no one's paying attention. We think no one's looking. But when you've got to then confess, if you want to get right with God, you confess your sin and you're like, hey, Harvey, I'm going to church this week. And you're like, dude, you got a bull this week. What'd you do, man? Last week you had a baby lamb. Like this week you got a bull. Like, what did you do? Yes. Like, oh, dude, ooh, man, look at Mike over there. He's got like a bird cage with like a dozen doves, or whatever.
You got a whole camel.
So,
That was hearsay, so because you didn't have cell phones. So,
right.
So by the time it got around,
Yeah.
the animal kept getting big.
Oh yeah.
Whole herd of them, yeah.
You had a herd of elephants going in there. But it was really, and while we say it jokingly, while we do say it jokingly, I mean, what's happening right here? When you walk into the outer court, they lay that animal down, cut its throat. There's blood, there's guts, they're burning. Remember we talked about burning, the burnt offering, you burn the entrails completely. There's other things that are going, you burn the fat completely. Like, it's not going to be like a super pleasant smelling kind of place. This is not a place that I would say is a place that I want to go just hang out on the weekends, right? This is going to be like, yeah, I'm here in line. I've got my goat. I see Bradford's got his bull. And in my mind, I'm like, this is.
Yeah, but that's like an honor system. I mean,
And it is. It's an honor system. Because you know what? It's between you and God. If you say, I am guilty of such and such sin, but I'm just going to bring a goat this time, then that's between you and God, isn't it?
so the sacrificing went all the way up to Malachi, right?
Right.
So between Malachi and Matthew, that's 400 to 500 years right there.
Well, it went all the way through until
So Jesus.
Yeah. Well, Jesus, when the veil tore, they stopped doing sacrifices regularly, and they completely stopped in 70 AD when the temple was destroyed.
But all through the Old Testament.
All through the Old Testament, from this point forward, until Jesus dies on the cross and the veil tore, they did it. And they actually did it every day at 3 p.m. There was a sacrifice given. It's kind of like, I know Scott's probably screwed up something today, so let's just do a sacrifice for kind of everybody at 3 p.m. Like, let's just cover that because we know, it's another, yep. Well, this is where, remember, right outside of Bethlehem is where they are raising the sheep that are supposed to be slaughtered, the lambs that are supposed to be slaughtered for sacrifice, and especially for Passover. And so this is where I start getting into the connections. Y'all ready for this? I know we're not through this, but I'm going to go ahead now. We're in this. We're talking about it. So where's Jesus from?
Nazareth.
But where is he from originally? Bethlehem, right? He was born in Bethlehem. Where's the place where the lambs for sacrifice in the temple are raised? Bethlehem. That's right. Where is the Jewish connection to Egypt? Why are they in Egypt?
To
get away from the famine, right? Because Joseph took his family there.
Also, they were hiding from, was it Herod?
Well, and that Jesus was hiding from Herod. He was running away from a situation back home.
Yeah.
And he escaped to Egypt. Now, it turned out to be good for him, but it wasn't good for the Jewish people. But there's this connection of Jesus himself even went to Egypt and then came back.
Yeah.
Okay, the Jewish people, they were in the line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they went to Egypt, and then eventually they came back. About 490 years later, they're back.
Jesus could probably speak Egyptian then.
Jesus probably spoke some Egyptian. I am under the impression
He might be went to Alexandria.
he went to the library at Alexandria and studied, because what were the gifts that they brought to him?
That would be Greek, though. Yeah.
I knew that.
It was Alexandria.
Yeah.
The Great
You're right.
conquered that 300 BC.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably Greek.
So I was looking at this today. Jesus probably spoke Greek.
He probably
Also.
yes, also
Besides
Greek and Aramaic.
Yeah.
But the gifts that they brought to Jesus, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And those were like super valuable. So now you have a baby with this crazy influx of cash, and we're going to Egypt. And he comes back. The next thing we hear, he's back in the temple at 12 years old, and he's teaching.
Yeah, so he probably learned a lot out there too.
So I'm saying he studied in Alexandria.
So he's a trust fund baby.
Well, and if you want to even go back further, Daniel, who was a eunuch, that means no babies, he was second in command in Assyria, and then later in the Medes and Persians took over. He was still up high, and he was in charge of he was the chief magi, which is where we get the word magician. He was the chief magi, and he had accumulated wealth. And there's this idea that perhaps he set it aside, knowing that the Messiah was coming, and told them that when you look at the stars and you see these things happen, take that treasure to Jerusalem and find the baby in Bethlehem. Because they looked at the stars. The stars were Genesis 1:16. The stars are for signs and wonders and
How long was it
seasons.
from Daniel to?
If I'm not mistaken, it was like 1,500 years, 900 to 1,500 years, somewhere in there. I can't remember the numbers, but
There's probably some inflation, and
yeah,
the treasure probably increased in value.
yeah, I'm sure. Especially being like high worth, high value stuff. So anyway, we've kind of digressed here, but I want us to talk.
Again.
I know, whatever. But you guys have fun with this, right? I mean, so we see here coming from the east. The first thing that happens when you enter into the outer court, if you want to approach God, is sacrifice. That means blood has to be spilt. Because what is the wages of sin?
Death.
Death. So that's the wages of sin, is death. Now, it's not your death. It's the death of the animal. Because that's what God's example was. Remember? In the garden? Well, who told you you were naked? We did. Did you eat from that fruit that I told you not to? Yeah. So those fig leaves are not really covering a lot, are they? No. So he killed the first animal and wrapped skin around Adam and Eve. Though there was a price for the sin to cover the sin, and it was a blood sacrifice by God. And that's where we get the first sacrifice. Okay? That's all the way back in Genesis. So we have, in order to become okay in God's presence, there's a sacrifice for sin. The wages of sin is death. Then, what happens after you sacrifice the animal? If I want to come any closer to God, I have to what?
Clean up.
I got to clean up. It's a messy thing to be near sin, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a messy thing to be near sin.
Dirty old sinful people.
And so I'm going to wash. And I'm going to make sure I get all of my elbows. Shoot, I may get my shoulders in here. I'm going to wash it off of me as much as I can. I want to get clean. And then when you go inside of here, you have the table of showbread. Remember that? The bread, the flat pita bread that they would make there.
Was that just for representation?
It was just for representation.
It wasn't actually there for a priest to eat.
They didn't eat it. It was just representation. But Jesus called himself what of life?
Bread of life.
The bread of life. And John tells us that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And in the beginning, he was the light of men, and in that light there was life. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we see here Jesus represented as the bread of life. And by the way, Bethlehem means town of the bread. Where's Jesus from? Bethlehem. And what is he? The bread of life. Okay? So we have the bread of life, and there's 12 of those sitting there, one for each of the, it's enough for each of the tribes of Israel.
Is that the bread that David ate when he was hungry?
Yes, and he was not supposed to have touched it. That's right. Good. Yeah.
But then doesn't.
He was like, guys, I'm literally about to starve, and someone's trying to kill us. This is just representative. It's not really. And they were like, you can't eat that.